Last year I made a video on the worst designed plants in Plants vs Zombies 2, which went down well, very well, so it was only a matter of time before I would do the same for zombies. Coming up with zombies that look ugly is considerably harder than the plants, as 1, they're zombies so they're literally ugly by default, and 2, the majority of zombies have the same assets and look quite similar to each other as a result. So it's a lot more difficult to single out certain ones that look like a hot undead mess. Whereas for the plants, you can identify a certain stinker with a single glance. Only zombies on vanilla PvZ2 qualify for this list, but holiday themed reskins are allowed. Before we start the video, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're interested, join the GNVS Discord. I'm going into Vlogspot, let's destroy some disastrous designs. Number 10 is the Amberhead Zombie. Everyone has had missed opportunities in their lifetime, and I am not an exception to this. Case in point, my world's ranking video where I made a very obvious joke about Amber Heard after remarking who doesn't love pirates, and this most definitely could have been followed up with a nod to the zombie, whose name is only one letter off. Anyhow, regardless of how badly he gets on with the pirate zombies, the Amberhead has a pretty naff design. Most of the quaternary armoured zombies, otherwise known as the armoured expansion zombies, have pretty cool helmets. The pyramid and hollow heads suit their world to a T, and some people dislike the barrel and cart heads, but I think they look solid. Amberhead, however, nope! He wears a ball of amber, and for something that's renowned for its beauty, why does it look so damn ugly on him? This is made even worse by the fact the world already has another heavily armoured zombie in the fossil head, who looks considerably better, and his armour makes a lot more sense for Jurassic Marsh. Also, for some reason, the amber suddenly becomes opaque when the zombie is frozen, gassed or poisoned, meaning you can't see his face at all. Great work, PopCap. Number 9 is the Birthdayz Jester zombie. This one can be boiled down to laziness and arguably pointlessness. I know he's not the first zombie to get multiple seasonal reskins, but why not give it to a different zombie? Especially when the chef's zombie looks so much better, minus the silly name, and actually makes sense with the seasonal theme. Dude's a crazy chef hastily preparing food, even if it does seem like the devs confused chefs with waiters. Plus he gets a brain in his hand and changes colour when spinning. The Birthdayz Jester on the other hand is just some guy with a cake in his hand, so it makes no sense why he moves so erratically, and in general just looks lazily designed. Also, he reuses the vanilla Jester's spinning sprite, so his spinning colours don't even match up with his clothes. Rotten stuff. 8th spot goes to the Disco-Tron 3000. This guy is mostly on the list for being dull. Simply put, a disco-themed robot should not look this bland. It's supposed to facially resemble Disco Stu in the original game, well after he was changed from the Michael Jackson design, and the way I achieved this is somewhat clever, with the main unit representing the afro and the windows being a size, but there's a lot of the machine with pure nothingness, and as a result, feels oversized. It's no wonder why, on release, the machine couldn't appear in the top and bottom lanes. The way it eats plants is also kind of goofy and makes it look like the vacuum cleaner from Teletubbies. Some of the attributes scattered around this body are fine. The fish trapped in the shoes isn't going to win the game a Peter award anytime soon, but it's a nice callback to Disco Stu in the first game, and the Disco Ball aerial is pretty sweet. Nevertheless, the frankly disappointing design of the disco machine puts it on the list, made worse by the fact his feet look like they've been chopped off in the official render. Number 7 is the Springening Gargantuar. I mean, does this one really need explaining? Just take a look at this buck-toothed atrocity. The guy just looks plain asinine and not in a good way. The regular zombies are already dressed as rabbits for this theme, so why bonify this fist and go and make him look like a total embarrassment? Also the added squeak sound whenever he walks. It gets very annoying very quickly. His carrot weapon is acceptable, and his imp launching method of throwing an egg which hatches is solid in spite of being pretty predictable, but the Garg itself is a huge blot on the game visuals. Rounding off the first half of the list, I've got the Snorkel Zombie. Sometimes the character's design is not necessarily awful on its own, but it's such a downgrade from the original design that didn't need a makeover in the first place, that it just has to be ranked among the worst. See also Plasma Peeling Garden Warfare. While I am one to favour redesigns in PvZ2, that is not the case for this guy. The OG Snorkel is full of detail, from the cracked goggles to the I Love Brainz t-shirt to the yellow armbands, whereas the redesigned one loses many of these in favour of an oversimplified appearance, who has some nice golden flippers, but also a very boring pair of goggles and a snorkel that isn't even in his mouth, making his name kind of meaningless. Also, he inexplicably reuses Prospector Zombie's animation. making him the first world exclusive zombie to have a completely recycled motion, so the laziness is just the rotten cherry on top of the stale cake. Going into the top 5, we have the deep sea Gargantuar. This one is debatable for sure, and sorry Big Wave Beach, but you're on here for the second time in a row. This is also the second Gargantuar on here, and it won't be the last. My issue with the beachy Garg is that I've always thought he stuck out like a sore thumb. Hell, he's the correct shade for that. Most Gargantuars have the same basic principles in both appearance and gameplay, with outfit and weapon variations based on their worlds, but for some reason, this guy completely changes colour. Why didn't they just make him a regular coloured Gargantuar with a few cross-station elements, rather than flat out making him a cross-station? Get this pink eyesore out of my face. Number 4 is the Torchlight Zombie. While somewhat excusable since he is the first ever veteran zombie aside from the recurring ones, the sheer laxity that has gone into his design is contemptible. He's been changed from the original Explorer zombie so little they're barely even distinguishable. The only obvious difference in game is his faster speed. Other than that, it's just a marginally bigger flame, plus for some weird reason the guy himself is on fire. Thankfully he was redesigned in mods, but compared to other veterans that got a pretty good makeover such as Rodeo Legend, this guy sticks out by not sticking out at all. Taking the third spot is the big Brainz Zombie. Now this one seems like cheating, since I'm including every single big-headed zombie, but I've absolutely hated them since day one. Big head mode is a surprisingly common trope in video games, with WWE 2K19 also featuring this blunder, but at least it's optional there. In PvZ 2 it's part of a recurring event, so you got to deal with it in pinata parties. Not only do they look ugly, but the drastically increased size serves as a visual obstruction, getting in the way of other zombies and plants on the lawn. It's no wonder why they didn't increase the size of armour, otherwise the game would be literally unplayable. Anyway, I say you got to deal with them, but after the first year I started to boycott pinata parties whenever they feature this obnoxious, unnecessary gimmick. Very close to the bottom of the barrel. Before we get on to the top 2, yes, I'm doing this before the top 2 entries. Stick with me here, you'll find out why. Here are some horrible mentions. First, the Shield Zombie. The unit itself looks alright, and I kind of like that the zombie inside it is a unique one never seen before or since, but I have 2 issues. First of all, I've never been keen on his shield. It looks kind of messy, especially when there's multiple on the lawn at once. And secondly, considering all the other machines are based on zombies in the original game, the fact that this guy has no resemblance at all is pretty disappointing. There's a very obvious zombie just screaming to be reinstated for this. PopCap, why didn't you model him after Screen Door Zombie? Sticking with far future, I also have to give a HM to the Zombot Tomorrowtron, as he just looks so underwhelmingly bland for a futuristic robot boss. He looks like you'd find him in UB Funkies. And finally, Pelican Zombie. While a step up from the Torchlight Zombie, the Pelican has always looked a little too big for my liking. Especially the beak, although I like the realism of not giving the zombie himself any armour, since unlike the Blastronaut, the Pelican Zombie doesn't gain more health. Anyway, let's dive into the top 2. Runner up from the rotten rural ruins is the Gargimp Legal. Where do I even begin with this guy? Reversing the roles of an Imp and Gargantuar for a special Z-Corp zombie combo is an admirable concept, but as a result the 2 zombies end up becoming a disproportional nightmare. The miniature Gargantuar acts like a bulky variant that unconvincingly hits plants with his bat like a Garg, only it looks like it could barely even scratch a puff shroom. He also gets this really stupid looking haircut that looks like me in my first few months of YouTube. His head is also quite oversized compared to his body. In conclusion, solid idea, terrible result, and in turn. Number 1 is the head office Impgantuar. I mean, come on now. Shrinking a large zombie had a pretty bad outcome, but enlarging a small one is visual pollution to the max. The dude's head is so large he looks like he's about to fall right over. Like, this guy looks even worse than the big head imp. The animations also look janky as hell given their upscaled gargs, and his headbutt animation just looks daft. They obstruct the lawn, they look stupid, and the thick rimmed glasses don't help matters. Hell, the Flourish literally have an imp that is upscaled to the point of looking blurry, but even that looks better since they simply made him bigger rather than, you know, wider. Yeah, I don't know if you've caught this yet, but I hate this design. That's my list. What do you think is the worst design zombie? Let me know in the comments, subscribe to the channel if you're new, please leave a like to support the channel. Check out my merch store, join the GNVS Discord server, come around my house, 1v1 me on Garden Warfare, I'll stop with that. I've been Golden Ninja Vlogspot, thanks for watching.